Hello everyone, I know the Godzilla Jr. what-ifs are really popular and I thought it would be fun to have some supplemental content to flesh out the story. These stories will connect with the Godzilla Jr. what-ifs, so here's the first installment. After defeating Gigan and Hedorah, Godzilla still remains in hibernation on the seafloor near Monster Island. Meanwhile, back in Okinawa, construction is almost complete on Mechagodzilla. Dr. Mifune and Torahata oversee the final stages. Torahata says that they will need to test Mechagodzilla before he goes up against a real opponent. Dr. Mifune agrees. Their plan is to trick humanity into allowing Mechagodzilla to provide defense against the world's monsters. Once all the monsters on Monster Island are dealt with and Mechagodzilla is left unopposed, Dr. Mifune and Torahata will turn Mechagodzilla against humanity and wield his awesome power to conquer the world. Dr. Mifune leaves the control room and heads back to his laboratory where he is continuing his work on Project T, which he thinks will be quite useful to their plans. Out on a remote island in Southeast Asia, a group of climate scientists from the United States get ready to run a series of weather experiments. After years of setting up their headquarters, the team's weather controlling experiment is finally ready for testing. One team in the weather control tower begins spraying a cooling gas while another team releases a radioactivity sonde. At first, the experiment progresses normally, but during the test, a radioactivity sonde detonates too soon. Upset the experiment failed, the scientists begin analyzing the equipment, yet before they can figure out what went wrong, the island is hit with a huge storm. As the storms continue to pummel the Southeast Asian region for days, an aquatic dinosaur kaiju is awoken from its 1,000-year slumber. The ancient monster was transformed by Shindo's nuclear submarine that was stationed in the region for years until being used on Godzilla in 1992. Woken up by the storms, Titanosaurus rises from the underwater cave he was hibernating in and swims off enraged. After many days, the storms finally stop, but the peace after the storm doesn't last for long. Now the group of scientists must contend with newly mutated insect kaiju, a swarm of spiders and a flock of praying mantis. The group of scientists rush to get off the island in one piece. Unfortunately, the monsters overpower the scientists and kill many of them. Some survivors make it back to the ship docked on the other side of the island. It is hypothesized among the surviving scientists that the radiation from the weather experiment must have altered the insect's cellular structure. They name the praying mantis kaiju Kamacuras and the spider kaiju Kumonga in their notes detailing the incident. While some members get away, a flock of Kamacuras head out after the ship and are inadvertently brought to Manila. The team arrives in the city relieved, but as soon as their feet hit the pavement, evacuation sirens begin blaring. Within minutes, a swarm of Kamacuras appear overhead and fly into the city. They begin attacking the city. They smash buildings and devastate the surrounding area. The Kamacuras take over the area and rampage throughout the city for a while. In the midst of their devastation, Rodan and Anguirus appear. Traveling all the way from Monster Island, Rodan and Anguirus engage the Kamacuras. Rodan fires his atomic breath at the swarm. Anguirus barrels towards the group of Kamacuras. The monsters go back and forth with each other. The Kamacuras swarm fights back against Rodan and Anguirus. A Kamacuras lands on Rodan's wing and begins clawing at him. Rodan tosses the Kamacuras off. Anguirus watches it fall to the ground. The Kamacuras try and overwhelm Anguirus by swarming him and attacking with their claws. Anguirus bites the Kamacuras and pushes them off. While the Kamacuras put up a good fight, they are quickly overpowered. Rodan and Anguirus are able to kill 3 Kamacuras, successfully pushing them out of the city. The remaining injured Kamacuras retreat to their home. When they get back, they are greeted by dozens more. On the other side of the island, some Kumonga have settled near the wreckage of the scientist base. Meanwhile, back in Okinawa, Dr. Mifune is in his lab watching the battle in Manila play out on television. Dr. Mifune watches the destruction in glee as he gets an incredible idea for the newly restarted Project T. Dr. Mifune has been hard at work with the help of some students from the Psychic Development Center. With Project T started up again, Dr. Mifune hopes to use this technology to control other monsters and use them as pawns. Currently, Dr. Mifune works deep inside the base with the students to harness their psychic abilities. After watching the battle on TV, Dr. Mifune realizes that Kamacuras might be perfect for their first real test. Dr. Mifune tasks his team with tracking down the injured Kamacuras and figure out where they originated from. A small team heads out to Manila. While Project T is intended to be used on an entirely different kaiju, Dr. Mifune thinks a weaker kaiju like Kamacuras would be perfect to trial test the technology. The Kamacuras are weak and will be easy to control, but will still contribute helpful data for Project T. Dr. Mifune also thinks that they will be a great help to his and Torahata's plot. These monsters will be great terrorizing pests, Dr. Mifune thinks to himself. Dr. Mifune laughs at the amount of chaos he will cause with these Kamacuras. Dr. Mifune walks out of his lab and goes down a long hallway. He comes to a closed metal door. Dr. Mifune badges in and the door closes quickly behind him. Lights turn on and reveal a giant insect kaiju in a huge holding cell. Dr. Mifune looks at the hibernating monster and checks its diagnostics. As the system performs the check, Dr. Mifune looks at the monster. "Soon, Megalon. Soon," he says. Meanwhile, one night a UFO mysteriously appears over the water near the Ogasawara Islands. As it gets closer to one of the islands, the UFO vanishes into the night. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm planning on expanding this format out to include original stories as well. See you in the next one, G fans!